let me jump in quickly, Mr. Osoma. The president didn't use the word sack or removal. He used the word suspended. And if you look at the earlier statement made by the president, he said he made a position of the Supreme Court. And the position of the Supreme Court, according to the president, which he quoted in his statement, he said, quote, a government cannot be said to exist without one of the three arms that make up the government of a state under the 1999 Constitution as amended. In this case, the head of the executive arm of the government has chosen to collapse the legislature to enable him to govern without a legislature as a despot. As it is, there is no government in Rivers State. And the president also alluded to the position of the court, which also posits that there might be, because of the proposed or the alleged defection of the 27 lawmakers, that the validity of their position as lawmakers is invalid, or their position as lawmakers is invalidated by the alleged defection. So the president is saying that there are legal encumbrances in the positions of the executive and the legislature.
No. So the president is not the court. All of those encumbrances that the president raised, valid as they are, had been taken care of by the Supreme Court judgment. The Supreme Court judgment had nullified all of those actions taken by the governor of Rivers State, Similaye Fubara. And so, to that extent, since the Supreme Court had taken those steps and invalidated those actions, if Fubara had said that he does not recognize the Supreme Court judgment, then that's when you will now say, despite the Supreme Court judgment, the governor was still going ahead to create that scenario described by the court. The governor has accepted that. And so, all of that had been cured by the Supreme Court judgment, and the State House of Assembly had subsequently sat to issue notices to parties and issue notices to the governor.
Let's say, Mr. Osoma, let's say on the provisions upon which the president acted tonight. He acted on the position of Section 305, subsection 5, which empowers him. Now, the question is that you are saying that the president does not have the power to suspend the governor and the deputy governor. Is that right?
So there's nothing in this section that says that once a state of emergency is declared, and that was the president's position when he was in opposition.
Procedurally, Mr. Osoma, just a moment. Procedurally, if there is a declaration by the president and a state of emergency in the state, what would follow procedurally? First
and foremost, when there is a declaration of a state of emergency in a state, that means there is crisis in that state. What should follow? Because we operate a federation, the state laws usually govern that state. It is the State House of Assembly that makes laws. And so, for any federal agency to make incursion into such a state, there must be a state of emergency for the federal government to make incursion into that state. And then, but in this case, I'm not to suspend elected government official. That's what I'm saying. But if the Constitution wanted the governor and the State House of Assembly to be suspended, certainly the Constitution would have spelled it. The Constitution did not provide. Section 305, subsection 5, did not say an administrator shall be appointed for such a state. That is my position. What is required is to leave the democratically elected government and deal with the security challenges in the state. It is not the security challenges. You can say they are fallout of the crisis between the executive and the legislature in the state. But there are security threats, imminent security threats, and there might be impediments. There might be state laws that are impeding the application of federal authority in that state. When a state of emergency is declared, it is those application of state laws that are usually suspended, and not the democratically elected government officials like the State House of Assembly and the state governor. And that is why I have said that if you look at section 4, subsection 4 of section 305, in some cases, it is the governor that can even invite. It is the governor that can even invite the president to declare a state of emergency. Where the powers, where the challenges, the danger is beyond the powers of the state. Does a governor invite the president to come and sack him from office? The answer is no. Secondly, if you look at subsection 5, where the president declare and the governor has failed to reach out to the president to declare, it is not stated there that a sole administrator shall be appointed in a democratic setting. That's basically what I'm saying.